In 1986, a young Keith Haring visited the transit hub of Grand Central Station in New York City. He saw the architecture, the crowds and the energy and thought to himself, I want to make art here. And with that thought in mind, he took out his marker and started drawing. He drew people dancing, stick figures flying through the air, and he drew them on and over advertisements and subway signs, until he had covered an entire wall with his art. A security guard approached him and said, "Hey, you can't do that." And Haring replied, "I'm just doing what everyone else is doing. They're just doing it with a can of spray paint." And with that, the security guard walked away and Haring continued making art until he had covered 14 different panels in his drawings. This type of art is called graffiti and it has become a huge part of the urban environment. Today, we're going to talk about the importance of this art form and how it has changed the way we see cities. But before we get into it, make sure you subscribe so you never miss an exciting episode. In the 1960s and 70s, artists like Martha Robert Heston and Lee Krasner began painting on the streets, and they were soon joined by many others who wanted to make their mark on the city. This was a time when artists were becoming more interested in the concept of public art, which is art that is made for everyone to see. They wanted to break away from the traditional idea that art should only be in museums or galleries, and they wanted to make art that was more accessible to the general public. By the early 1980s, graffiti had become very popular in New York City and other major cities around the world. It was often seen as a form of protest or rebellion against the establishment, and it was also a way for artists to express their individuality and creativity. But not everyone loved graffiti. Many people saw it as nothing more than vandalism, and the police often cracked down on those who were caught making graffiti. However, despite the negative perception from many, graffiti continued to grow in popularity and eventually it began to be accepted as a legitimate art form. Today, there are even entire museums dedicated to graffiti art, and some of the most famous graffiti artists in the world are now considered to be legends. So why is this type of art so important? What makes it so special? Well, first of all, it is a form of self-expression that is open to anyone. You don't have to be a professional artist to make graffiti. All you need is a can of spray paint and a little bit of creativity. This means that anyone who wants to can make graffiti, and that's what makes it so powerful. It is a true form of self-expression that is not restricted to the wealthy or the elite. Secondly, graffiti is an art form that is meant to be shared with everyone. When you make graffiti, you are putting it on display for the whole world to see. This means that anyone who sees your art can appreciate it regardless of their background or beliefs. This type of art is truly a public art form in its purest sense. Finally, graffiti is an art form that is constantly evolving. There are always new artists emerging and new styles developing. This means that there is no one definition of what graffiti is or should be. It is an art form that is constantly changing and growing, which makes it all the more exciting. However, graffiti isn't without its problems. For example, some people still see it as nothing more than vandalism, and there is still a lot of controversy surrounding the legality of graffiti. But despite these problems, graffiti is an art form that I believe should be celebrated. It is a true form of self-expression that is open to anyone. It is a public art form in its purest sense, and it is constantly evolving. So next time you see a piece of graffiti, take a moment to appreciate the art and the message that the artist is trying to convey. You might just learn something new about the world or yourself. If you liked this video, please leave a like and subscribe so you never miss an exciting episode. And if you know of an artist we should cover in the future, let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching.